Hi everyone. Today we read First Chronicles chapter 1 through 10 and several Psalms. So Chronicles is originally the last book of the Hebrew Bibles. Hebrew Bibles are three categories. First one is Torah, and second one is Nabim, and third one is Ketuvim. So Chronicles is the last one of the Hebrew Bible. Ketuvim means the writings. And Nabim is prophets. Torah is the law. So Chronicles is, the meaning of the Chronicles is the last book of the Hebrew Bible. That means it was written so late. So possible writer is Ezra. Is Ezra. His date is about 450 through 30. Even the last part of the Chronicles chapter 36 is finished with the edict of Kyros. In the first year of Kyros, king of Persia, in order to fulfill the word of the Lord spoken by Jeremiah, the Lord moved the heart of Kyros, king of Persia, to make a proclamation throughout his realm and to put it in writing. This is what Kyros, king of Persia, says: "The Lord, the God of heaven, has given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he has appointed me to build a temple for him at Jerusalem in Judah. Anyone in his people among you, may the Lord his God be with him, and let him go up." And the same thing is the two verses, the first two verses of Ezra. Ezra. So the edict of the Kyros is 539. So even the last part of Chronicles is describing the 5039 year, but in genealogy, Ezra contains about his time, the people of his time in some part. And the comparing Samuel's and Kings with the Chronicles, Samuel and Kings more emphasize the kings and prophets. The Chronicles more emphasize the priests and temple. That's what I understand. So today I'm gonna read the first 10 chapters of First Chronicles and share what I understand. So Ezra began his book with the genealogy of the first man. So when I read the first three verses, there are 10 the forefathers: Adam, Seth, Enosh, Kenan, Mahalalel, Jared, Enoch, Methuselah, Lamech, Noah. That's 10. And interestingly, the three sons of Noah was Shem and Ham and Japheth. When you read from verse 24, we also have here from Sem to Abraham 10 forefathers. It's Shem, Arphaxad, Shelah, Eber, Peleg, Reu, Selog, Nahor, Terah, and Abram. This Abraham. So from Adam to Noah, that's 10 generation, and from Sem to Abraham, that's 10 generation. And this Chronicles more emphasize the genealogy of Israelites and the genealogy of Judah, especially to the focus to the King David's genealogy and Levites and the priests. So these are the first two verses of chapter 2. These were the sons of Israel: Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, Dan, Joseph, Benjamin, Naphtali, Gad, and Asher. And interesting thing is chapter 2 verse 7, the son of Carmi, Achar, who brought trouble on Israel by violating the ban on taking devoted things. So here we saw the name Achar. Achar, but his original name was Achan. So I think the author intentionally changed his name because Achar means the one who make trouble. So it's very understandable why he changed the name. And we here read the genealogy of David's family from chapter 10. Ram was the father of Amminadab, and Amminadab the father of Nahshon, the leader of the people of Judah. Nahshon was the father of Salmon, Salmon the father of Boaz, Boaz the father of Obed, and Obed the father of Jesse. Jesse was the father of Eliab, his fourth son, and he has 7 sons. The seventh is David, and their sisters were Zeruiah and Abigail. And Zeruiah's 3 sons were Abishai, Joab, and Asahel. And when we read chapter 2, verse 24, there are interesting story there. After Hezron died in Caleb Ephrathah, Abijah, the wife of Hezron, bore him Ashur, the father of Tekoa. So I think his wife Abijah got conceived, and then his husband is dead, and she gave birth her son. And we read about Caleb, and birth 48. Caleb's concubine Maacah was the mother of Sheber and Tirana, and she also gave birth to Shaph, the father of Medamana, and Sheba, the father of Machbenah and Gibeah. Caleb's daughter was Aksa. So Aksa was the wife of Othniel, who was the judge of at the time. In chapter 3, we hear the sons of David, David's sons and one daughter of Tamar. So these were the sons of David born to him in Hebron. The first one was Ammon, the son of Ahinoam of Zizrael. The second, Daniel, the son of Abigail of Carmel. So when we compare the second Samuel chapter 3, the name of Abigail was Kiliab. So here Daniel. So I think he has two names. And third, Absalom, the son of Maacah, daughter of Talmai, king of Geshur. The fourth, Adonijah, the son of Haggith. The fifth, Shephatiah, the son of Abital. And the sixth, Isream, by his wife Iglah. And and verse 4, these six were born to David in Hebron, where he reigned 7 years and 6 months. David reigned in Jerusalem 33 years, and these were the children born to him there: Shammua, Shobab, Nathan, and Solomon. So it is very possibly Solomon is fourth son of David and Bathsheba. And from verse 10, the kings of Judah, the Solomon's son was Rehoboam, and Abijah his son, Asa his son, Jehoshaphat his son, Jehoram his son, Ahaziah his son, Joash his son, Amaziah his son, Azariah his son, Jotham his son, Ahaz his son, Hezekiah his son, Manasseh his son, Ammon his son, Josiah his son. The sons of Josiah, Johanan the firstborn, Jehoiakim the second son, Zedekiah the third, Shallum the fourth, the successors of Jehoiakim, Jehoiakim his son, and Zedekiah. And the descendants of Jehoiakim the captive, Shealtiel his son, Malkiram, Pedaiah, Shenazar, Jechamiah, Hoshama, and Nedaviah. The sons of Pedaiah, Zerubbabel and Shimei. The Zerubbabel is when he get the edict of Kyros, he returned to Jerusalem, and he's the main person who rebuilt the temple, the second temple. So we usually call it the Zerubbabel temple. And when we read first verse of chapter 4, the descendants of Judah, Perez, Hezron, Carmi, Hur, and Shobal. And we read again the Judah's sons again. We already passed the Judah's sons, chapter 2, verse 3. The sons of Judah, Er, Onan, and Shelah, and these three were born to him by a Canaanite woman, the daughter of Shua. Judah's firstborn was wicked in the Lord's sight, so the Lord put him to death. Tamar, Judah's daughter-in-law, bore him Perez and Zerah. So Judah had 5 sons in all in chapter 2, verse 3 and 4. But here, chapter 4, there are more sons he has. That's why we think they have multiple wives and concubines. And famous Jabez. Verse 9, Jabez was more honorable than his brothers. His mother had named him Jabez. Jabez means the pain, like the sound is like pain, saying, I gave birth to him in pain. That's why Jabez cried out to the God of Israel, oh, that you would bless me, that enlarge my territory. Let your hand be with me, and keep me from harm, so that I will be free from pain. So pain and pain. So God granted his request. So even he had the bad situation of his from birth date, but he prayed to God, and God answered him, and he could live without pain. And from chapter 4, verse 24, that's the genealogy of Simeon. Genealogy of Simeon. Some of them are so weak, but some of them are still strong. So, for example, when you read verse 27, Shimei had 16 sons and 6 daughters, but his brothers did not have many children, so their entire clan did not become as numerous as the people of Judah. But some of them are still good. When we read from verse 38, the men listed above by name were leaders of their clan. Their families increased greatly, and they went to the outskirts of Gedor to the east of the valley in search of pasture for their flocks. They found rich, good pasture, and the land was spacious, peaceful, and quiet. Some Hamites had lived there formerly. The men whose names were listed came in the days of Hezekiah, king of Judah. So the date of Hezekiah is early 7th century. Still the people of Simeon, they are still flourish. They attacked the Hamites in their dwellings, and also the Meunites who were there, and completely destroyed them, as is evident to this day. Then they settled in their place because there was pasture for their flocks. And 500 of their Simeonites, led by Pelatiah, Neriah, Rephaiah, and Oziel, the sons of Ishi, invaded the hill country of Seir. They killed the remaining Amalekites who had escaped, and they lived there to this day. So Simeon, they tried to find more their territory as low as to the the land of Amalekites, and here, and Reuben. First verse, the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, he was the firstborn, but when he defiled his father's marriage bed, his right as firstborn was given to the sons of Joseph, son of Israel, so he could not be listed in the genealogical record in accordance with his birthright. And though Judah was the strongest of his brothers, and a ruler came from him, the right of the firstborn belonged to Joseph. This is very clear. And Manasseh, East Manasseh and West Manasseh. From verse 18, the Reubenites and the Gadites and the half of the Manasseh had 44,760 men ready for military service, able-bodied men who could handle shield and sword, who could use a bow, and who were trained for battle. They waged war against the Hagrites, Jethro, and Nephish, and Nodab. They were helped in fighting them, and God handed the Hagrites and all their allies over to them, because they cried out to him during the battle. He answered their prayers because they trusted in him. So they got a great success, great victory. But when we read verse 25, but they were unfaithful to the God of their fathers and prostituted themselves to the gods of the peoples of the land whom God had destroyed before them. So the God of Israel stirred up the spirit of Pul, king of Assyria, there is Tiglath-Pileser, king of Assyria, who took the Reubenites, the Gadites, and the half-tribe of Manasseh into exile. He took them to Hala, Habor, and Hara, to the river and the river of Gozen, where they were to this day. So we easily think how they had forsaken the God who gave them the victory, and they chose the gods of the people whom the God defeated, because this is my understanding. The idolatry, never the foreign gods never asked a good life, like ethical life, when we listen, when we follow them. But God always asked us to be good, to be ethical, to be follow His words. That is why the people do not want to follow God. So when we have a belief in God, we must listen to Him, and we must reflect His character to the people. That is why God called us. And in the center of genealogy, like the first part is like Judah, and last part is Benjamin, and in the center is Levi. So that's why we have chapter 6, the genealogy of Levi. The sons of Levi, Gershon, Kohath, and Merari. And the sons of Kohath, Amram, Issachar, Hebron, and Oziel. The children of Amram, Aaron, Moses, and Miriam. And the sons of Aaron, Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Itamar. So this genealogy is very important. So we may we may write down on the board, and if we can memorize it, it is great. So Levi and three sons are Gershon, and Kohath, and Merari. And sons of Kohath, first is Amram, and the children of Amram is Aaron, Moses, and Miriam. And Aaron's sons are four sons. Nadab, Abihu, and Eliezer, and Ithamar. And we know the Nadab and Abihu was killed by God because they used the different fire at the first, almost the first offering sacrifice in the tabernacle. So they did, and all the Aaron's sons are Eliezer or from Eliezer or Ithamar. So Levite has three. Levite has three. Levite has three clans: Gershon and Kohath and Merari, and the priests are only here. If we can memorize, it's good, but if don't, it's still good. And verse 4, Eleazar was the father of Phinehas, Phinehas the father of Abishua, and Abishua the father of Buki, Buki the father of Ozi, Ozi the father of Jeriah, Jeriah the father of Meraioth, and Meraioth the father of Amariah, and Amariah the father of Ahitub, and Ahitub the father of Zadok, and Zadok the father of Ahimaaz. The Ahimaaz the father of Azariah, Azariah the father of Johanan, and Johanan the father of Azariah. It was he who served as a priest in the temple of Solomon built in Jerusalem. So the Zadok is very famous, especially the Sadducees in the New Testament, in the Gospels, and some of them are in Acts. They claim that Zadok is their forefather. And verse 15, the Jehozadak was deported when the Lord sent Judah and Jerusalem into exile by the hand of Nebuchadnezzar. And here from verse 26 through 28, we see the Elkanah and Samuel. From 26, Elkanah his son, Zophai his son, Nahath his son, Eliab his son, Jeroham his son, and Elkanah his son, and Samuel his son. The sons of Samuel are Joel, the firstborn, and Abijah, the second son. So here we the information about Samuel's family, and this is very interesting and important information when we read verse 31 and 32. They are the musicians in the tabernacle. These are the men David put in charge of the music in the house of the Lord after the ark came to rest there. So when we read 2 Samuel chapter 6, we read about that. Yeah. They ministered with music before the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, until Solomon built the temple of the Lord in Jerusalem. they performed their duties according to the regulations laid down for them. So there are three clans of this Levi. So when we read verse 33, here are the men who served together with their sons from the Kohathites. Kohathites, Haman, the musician, the son of Joel, the son of Samuel. It's Haman. Maybe Heman. So among them, in the Kohathites, there are sons of Korah, and his associate is a sharp, verse 39, and Heman's associate, a sharp, who served at his right hand. A sharp came from Kherson. So Elshab came from Kherson. Elshab, and the other one is 44, and from their associates, the Merarites, at his right hand, Ethan, son of Kishi, and he came from Merarite. So his name is Ethan. So they came from these three Levite clans. So when we read Psalms, we may meet their name there. So from verse 49, we are here summarized what priests are doing. But Aaron and his descendants were the ones who presented offerings on the altar of burnt offering and on the altar of incense in connection with all that was done in the most holy place, making atonement for Israel in accordance with all that Moses, the servant of God, had commanded. And from verse 54 to the last part, how the Levites live whole Israel from like 48 different towns. And among that 48 towns, there are 6 refuges there. And chapter 7, first one is Issachar. And from chapter 6, verse 6, Benjamin. And verse 13, and Naphtali, the sons of Naphtali, Jauziel and Goni and Jezer and Shulem, the descendants of Bilhah. And Manasseh, the descendants of Manasseh, Ashriel was his descendant through his Aramean concubine. She gave birth to Machir, the father of Gilead, and Machir took a wife from among the Huppites and Shuppites. His sister's name was Maacah. Another descendant was named Zelophehad, who had only daughters. So when we read Numbers and Levites, they keep on saying about this man named Zelophehad, who had only daughters, but still they kept their inheritance in their clan. So again, Judea and Simeon, Reuben, Gad, and East Manasseh, and we read Benjamin, the Issachar, and Benjamin, and Naphtali, and Ephraim. So from verse 20, chapter 7, the descendants of Ephraim, Shuselah, Bered his son, Talas his son, Eliadah his son, Talas his son, Zebed his son, and Shuselah his son, Ezer and Eliad were killed by the native-born men of Gath when they went down to seize their livestock. Their father Ephraim mourned for them many days, and his relatives came to comfort him. Then he lay with his wife again, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. He named him Buriah, because there had been misfortune in his family. And his daughter was Shirah, who built Low and Upper Beth Horon, as well as Uz and Shirah. So she is a very valiant lady. And again, chapter 8, descendants of Benjamin, especially focused to Saul. So when we read from verse 29, Jael, the father of Gibeon, lived in Gibeon. His wife's name was Maacah, and his firstborn son was Abdon, followed by Zur, Kishi, Baal, Ner, and Nadab, and Gedor, Aya, Zechar, and Mikloth, who was the father of Shimeah. They too lived near their relatives in Jerusalem, like Jebush. Ner was the father of Kish, and Kish the father of Saul, and Saul the father of Jonathan, and Malchishua, Abinadab, and Ishbar. So here we have Saul's genealogy. Ner, and Kish, and Saul, and Saul had 4 sons. Jonathan, and Abinadab, the Malchishua and Abinadab, and Ishbar. So Ish means man, Bar means Lord. So his name is, original name is the Lord's man, but he became Ishbosheth. That means the man who has the shame. And here we read 34, the son of Jonathan, Meribah, who was the father of Micah. So Jonathan, he has a son, that's Meribah. So his name changed to Mephibosheth. Mephibosheth means who overcame the shame. Yeah. And then when we read the verse 40, the sons of Ulam were brave warriors who could handle the bow. They had many sons and grandsons, 150 in all. All these were the descendants of Benjamin. So these are the descendants of the clan of Saul. But when Jonathan and David had the agreement, covenant, so David, when he became king, he protected Jonathan's descendants, and finally they became flourished. And when Israel was divided into Judah and Israel, Benjamin became the part of Judah. So they still could went to the captive and exiled with Judah, and so people call them Jews, but some of them are mostly like Benjamite. And when we read the Acts, the Apostle Paul, he was from the tribe of Benjamin. So he always say, I'm the Hebrew of the Hebrews and came from Benjamin. So it's very interesting. We talk the author of Chronicles. He gave the genealogy of Levite in chapter 6, and Judah, and Simeon, and Reuben, and Gad, and Manasseh, and Benjamin, Ephraim, Issachar, and Naphtali, and Asher. But he did not talk about Zebulun, and then he just omitted. So chapter 9 is returning from Babylon, like after the king Kyros' edict. So even the as I said as I told you, the Chronicle, the second Chronicle finished with the Kyros' edict. That was 539 BC. Some parts of the contents in the Chronicles is containing the contents after that, because Israel is like 430, 450, something like that. So chapter 9, all Israel was listed in the genealogies recorded in the book of the kings of Israel. The people of Judah were taken captive to Babylon because of their unfaithfulness. Now the first to resettle on their own property in their own towns were some Israelites, priests, Levites, and temple servants. The temple servants, originally in Hebrew, that's Nedinim. They call them Nedinims. And the priests, of the priests, verse 10, Jedaiah, Jehoiarib, and Jachin. So 11, Azariah, the son of Hilkiah, the son of Meshullam, the son of Zadok, the son of Merayuth, the son of Ahitub, the official in charge of the house of God. And they are total 1,760 persons. And from 17, this is not from the exiles, as I understand. Yeah. So from 17, the gatekeepers, and Shalom, and Akub, and Talmon, and Ahiman and their brothers, Shalom's their chief, being stationed at the king's gate on the east up to the present time. These were the gatekeepers belonging to the camp of the Levites. And verse 20, in earlier times, Phinehas, son of Eleazar, was the charge of the gatekeepers, and the Lord was with him. And 22, altogether those chosen to be gatekeepers at the thresholds numbered 212. They were registered by genealogy in their villages. The gatekeepers had been assigned to their positions of trust by David and Samuel the seer. 24. The gatekeepers were on the four sides, east, west, north, and south. Their brothers in their villages had to come from time to time and share their duties for 7-day periods. But the four principal gatekeepers, who were Levites, were entrusted with the responsibility for the rooms and treasuries in the house of God. They would spend the night stationed around the house of God because they had to guard it, and they had charge of the key for opening it each morning. Some of them were in charge of the articles used in the temple service. They counted them when they were brought in and when they were taken out. Others were assigned to take care of the furnishing and all the other articles of the sanctuary, as well as the flour and wine and the oil, incense and spices. But some of the priests took care of mixing the spices. The Levite named Matithiah, the firstborn son of Salom, the Kerahite, was entrusted with the responsibility for baking the offering bread. Some of their Kohathite brothers were in charge of preparing for every Sabbath the bread set out on the table. And those who were musicians, heads of Levite families, stayed in the rooms of the temple and were exempt from other duties because they were responsible for the work day and night. So everything was emphasized, but mostly the musician is more emphasized. And again, the genealogy of Saul, because it is lead to the chapter 10. And chapter 10, it is very similar to 1 Samuel chapter 31, but when we read from verse 8, they are slightly different. Verse 8 is same. The next day, when the Philistines came to strip the dead, they found Saul and his sons fallen on mountain Gilboa. They stripped him and took his head and his armor and sent messengers throughout the land of the Philistines to proclaim the news among their idols and their people. They put his armor in the temple of their gods and hung up his head in the temple of Dagon. So, the mountain Gilboa, they found Saul and his 3 sons were dead there. So they especially take off Saul's armor and cut his head and sent to their village. Like 5 villages. And then put his armor there in their house of an idol. And then hung his head there, but his Saul's body and his son's body, they hang their bodies on the Bashan. That's why the people from the Gilead Yabesh, they came to there and take, let us read 11, verse 11. When all the inhabitants of Jabesh Gilead heard of everything the Philistine had done to Saul, all their valiant men went and took the bodies of Saul. So head is there and body is there. So bodies of Saul and his sons and brought them to Jabesh. Then they buried their bones under the great tree in Jabesh, and they fasted 7 days. So when you read Samuel chapter 31, so there are a little bit different information there. So when we put together, we have a more precise information. Like verse 9, 1 Samuel chapter 31 verse 9, they cut off his head and stripped off his armor, and they sent messages throughout the land of the Philistines to proclaim the news in the temple of their idols and among their people. They put his armor in the temple of the Ashtoreth and fasten his body to the wall of Bashan. Yeah. This is different from Chronicles chapter 10. And 11, when the people of Jabesh Gilead heard of what the Philistines had done to Saul, all their valiant men journeyed throughout the night to Bashan. They took down the bodies of Saul and his sons from the wall of the Bashan and went to Jabesh, where they burned them. Then they took their bones and buried them under a tamarisk tree at Jabesh, and they fasted 7 days. So when we have different stories, we could put together and have more information. And here again, chapter 10, the author of Chronicles gave us the why God killed Saul. Saul died because he was unfaithful to the Lord. He did not keep the word of the Lord and even consulted a medium for guidance and did not inquire of the Lord. So Lord put him to death and turned the kingdom over to David, son of Jesse. So this is very important for us. Even some people say the meaning of soul is to inquire. So here, the four reasons of Saul's death. First one, he was unfaithful to the Lord. Unfaithfulness. And he did not keep the word of the Lord. So, disobedience. Especially when God ordered to destroy whole the people of Amalekites, he did not follow what God ordered, and even consulted a medium for guidance. Consulted a medium. And fourth is he did not inquire of the Lord. Did not inquire of the Lord. So the Lord put him to death and turned the kingdom over to David, son of Jesse. So we must, as children of God, we must be faithful to God. We must be obedient to God. We must not commit the idolatry, and we must pray. We must ask to God. And now we have several psalms. So let me let us just read that important verse. The verse I put in the question. Mostly, yeah. First, Sunday, the number is 344. It's David. The Lord looks down from heaven on the sons of men to see if there are any who understand, any who seek God. All have turned aside. They have together become corrupt. There is no one who does good, but even one. That is that Apostle Paul quoted from here to Romans chapter 3. So when he said everyone has sinned, and Psalm 16 is so beautiful. So let me read the whole chapter. Keep me safe, O God, for in you I take refuge. I said to the Lord, you are my Lord. Apart from you, I have no good thing. As for the saints who are in the land, they are the glorious ones in whom is all my delight. The sorrows of those will increase who run after other gods. I will not pour out their libations of blood or take up their names on my lips. Lord, you have assigned me my portion and my cup. You have made my lot secure. The boundary lines have fallen for me in pleasant places. Surely I have a delightful inheritance. I will praise the Lord who counsels me. Even at night my heart instructs me. I have set the Lord always before me. Because he is at my right hand, I will not be forsaken. I will not be shaken. Therefore, my heart is glad and my tongue rejoices. My body also will rest secure, because you will not abandon me to the grave, nor you will let your Holy One see decay. You have made known to me the path of life. You will fill me with joy in your presence, with eternal pleasures at your right hand. Especially here, verse 9-10 is quoted by Apostle Peter to when he proclaimed the resurrection of Jesus Christ in chapter 2, Acts. And 19, let me read from verse 7. The law of the Lord is perfect, reviving the soul. The statutes of the Lord are trustworthy, making wise the simple. The precepts of the Lord are right, giving joy to the heart. The commands of the Lord are radiant, giving light to the eyes. The fear of the Lord is pure, enduring forever. The ordinances of the Lord are sure and altogether righteous. They are more precious than gold, than much pure gold. They are sweeter than honey from the comb. By them is your servant warned. In keeping them there is a great reward. Who can discern his errors? Forgive my hidden faults. Keep your servant also from willful sins. May they not rule over me. Then will I be blameless, innocent of great transgression. May the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be pleasing in your sight, O Lord, my rock and my redeemer. This is very, very lovely Bible. The Psalm, especially chapter 13, the verse 13 says we must avoid the willful sins. So for avoiding that, we must pray to the God, and we must stay in the words. And Psalm 21, from verse 1, O Lord, the King rejoices in your strength. How great is his joy in the victories you give. You have granted him the desire of his heart and have not withheld the request of his lips. You welcomed him with rich blessings and placed a crown of pure gold on his head. He asked you for life, and you gave it to him, length of days, forever and ever. So everything, every blessing comes from God. And 43, Psalm 43, this is part of the Psalm from the sons of Korah. And verse 2, you are God, my stronghold. Why have you rejected me? Why must I go about mourning, oppressed by the enemy? Send forth your light and your truth. Let them guide me. Let them bring me to your holy mountain, to the place where you dwell. And 44 also, the sons of Korah, verse 20 and 21, if we had forgotten the name of our God, or spread out our hands to a foreign God, would not God have discovered it, since he knows the secrets of the heart? That's our spirituality. And verse 45, again, the sons of Korah, all your robes are fragrant with myrrh and aloes and kosher, from palaces adorned with ivory. The music of the strings makes you glad. And 49 and verse 12, but man, despite his riches, does not endure. He is like the beasts that perish. So if we don't have God, we are nothing better than to the beasts. And Psalm 84, is very, very beautiful psalm from the sons of Korah. Let me read the whole psalm. How lovely is your dwelling place, O Lord Almighty! My soul yearns, even faints, for the courts of the Lord. My heart and my flesh cry out for the living God. Even the sparrow has found a home, and the swallow a nest for herself, where she may have her young, a place near your altar, O Lord Almighty, my King and my God. Blessed are those who dwell in your house. They are ever praising you. Blessed are those whose strength is in you, who have set their hearts on pilgrimage. As they pass through the valley of Baca, they make it a place of springs. The autumn rains also cover it with pools. They go from strength to strength till each appears before God in Zion. Hear my prayer, O Lord God Almighty. Listen to me, O God of Jacob. Look upon your shield, O God. Look with favor on your anointed one. Better is one day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere. I would rather be a doorkeeper in the house of my God than dwell in the tents of the wicked. For the Lord God is a sun and shield. The Lord bestows favor and honor. No good thing does he withhold from those whose work is blameless. O Lord Almighty, blessed is the man who trusts in you. So beautiful. And chapter 85 again from the sons of Korah, verse 8, I will listen to what God the Lord will say. He promises peace to his people, his saints, but let them not return to Harley. And 87, the Lord will write in the register of the peoples. These peoples are the whole nations. This one was born in Zion. So after Jesus completed his ministry, there is no distinction between the physical Jew or not, physical Jew and Gentiles. Only the spiritual Israelites are the Christians. So, and God says, you are born in Zion. And back to 73. Ashab, whom have I in heaven but you, from verse 25, and earth has nothing I desire besides you. My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is the strength of my heart and my portion forever. And 77, also Ashab, he said, you led your people like a flock by the hand of Moses and Aaron. So, the relationship sheep and the shepherd is very many times it is used in the Bible. And 78 also from Asaph, and 32. In spite of all this, they kept on sinning. In spite of his wonders, they did not believe. So he ended his days in futility and their years in terror. So people were disobedient to go to the mainland into the Canaan at the Kadesh Barnea. So God is put them in the 40 years in the desert. That's what it's talking about. And 81, Ashab, from verse 10 again, I am the Lord your God, who brought you up out of Egypt. Open wide your mouth and I will fill it. But my people would not listen to me, Israel would not submit to me, so I gave them over to their stubborn hearts to follow their own devices. So, when God is not disciplining us, that's the most horrible situation. And 88, and from Haman, yeah. So when we read the Chronicles, we read the Haman. So Haman sang verse 13, but I cried to you for help, O Lord. In the morning my prayer comes before. So in the morning, in the early morning when we pray, it's so beautiful. And 92, we don't know the author, but the psalmist compares the wicked person, verse 7, that though the wicked spring up like grass and all evildoers flourish, they will be forever destroyed. But the righteous, from verse 12, the righteous will flourish like a palm tree. They will grow like a cedar of Lebanon, planted in the house of the Lord. They will flourish in the courts of our God. They will still bear fruits in old age, and they will stay fresh and green, proclaiming, the Lord is upright, He is my rock, and there is no wickedness in Him. So this is so beautiful. We are the plant like a palm tree or a cedar planted in the house of the Lord. So beautiful. And the trees, even they are old, they still bear the fruits. And 93 is the last one today. The Lord reigns, He is robed in majesty. The Lord is robed in majesty and is armed with strength. The world is firmly established, it cannot be moved. So when we read together the history and Psalms, we may understand better. I'm so thankful to you. Study with me the God's words. Let us keep on reading God's words throughout whole this year. So when we read together, we may understand better. Thank you very much. See you next.